Hello, students. This week, we're going to talk about the concept of motivation. We're actually going to define motivation, and then we're going to examine 3 different motivation theories that come from the discipline of psychology. We're also going to discuss what is personally motivating you to pursue a college education. So to start our discussion, I want to ask you all a question. And after I ask that question, I'd like you to just go ahead and silence my voice just for a few minutes and actually write down your responses or your answers. So my question is actually very simple. It's why? Why are you here? Why are you attending college? Why are you here at STC? Why? So go ahead, please brainstorm as many reasons as you can for why you personally are attending college. Now I promise we're going to get to your list of reasons here in just a little bit, but before we discuss the specifics of what you actually wrote down, what I'd like to talk about is the meaning behind what you wrote. So when I ask you the question why are you here? What I'm really asking you is, what is motivating you to come to college? So our key word obviously is motivation, and that's what I'd like us to work on defining. What is motivation? How do we define motivation? So at its most basic, I think we could say that motivation is, why we do what we do. It's the reasons we do what we do, the reasons for our actions, the reasons for our behaviors. You can also think of motivation as a force. Think Star Wars, right? So motivation is this force that initiates, guides, and maintains our goal-oriented behaviors. So there are a lot of components there. Initiates, of course, means what gets us started. Guiding means what's keeping us on track. Maintaining means it's keeping us moving forward and on the right track. So motivation is what causes us to take action, to take on a specific behavior or a set of behaviors. And there are all sorts of behaviors that we take on. That behavior may be going, to the refrigerator to get a snack. It might be, getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning before work to go work out at the gym. Or it could be, enrolling in college to get a degree to earn your Associate of Arts in Teaching. So I want you to keep in mind that there are some really powerful forces at work pushing us to behave or pushing us to act. And those forces may act, just alone, or they may act in combination. And so the forces can come from, instinctual things, biological, they might be emotional, social, they can even be cognitive. And researchers, but specifically psychologists, have come up with a lot of different theories that help explain motivation. There is no one motivational theory. It's all of them explain a little bit of the picture. Now, we're not going to examine all of the psychological theories behind motivation, because I said there are a lot. You can do that in your psychology classes. But we are going to look at a couple of them, especially as they relate to us in this class about learning, growth, development. And the 3 that we're going to focus on are incentive theory, expectancy theory, and a humanistic theory. So let's start with the incentive theory of motivation. What does this theory tell us about motivation? Well, let's start with the title, incentives. We know what incentives are. Incentives are just a fancy word for rewards, benefits. So this theory tells us that we're motivated to do things because of external, notice that word is underlined, external rewards or benefits. We're motivated to do something because there is some kind of outside force that's offering us an incentive, a reward, or a benefit. It's the notion that we gain something from the outside world in exchange, in return for our efforts. And we can think of hundreds of examples, right? Like, why is somebody motivated to go to work? What's an external reason? And obviously, money plays a part, right? Money, salary, that you get health care, that you get retirement benefits. You might ask, why is somebody motivated to go to the gym? What sort of external rewards does that person get? And we all know that probably if you go to the gym and you work out, you're getting that tone-tight body, you're physically fit. You might also get, recognized by the athletic community. You can ask why somebody might be motivated to study for a test or for an exam or to do well on their homework. And obviously the external motivator would be getting good grades, getting a good GPA. You might be recognized by your professors or by your college. You might be on a dean's list or a chancellor's list. You might get a scholarship, actually money, for those good grades. And you could even look at, why is somebody motivated to be like a marathon runner? Not me, but everybody else. Why is somebody motivated to run in a race? And again, external motivators. They might win a trophy. They might win some monetary award. And again, there's recognition, there's praise, there's accolades from outside people, particularly in athletic community. So guys, there are a lot of benefits or rewards or incentives for why we do what we do. And the general rule of thumb is as follows. The greater the perceived reward, the more motivated you're going to do something. And there's a corollary, of course. The less the perceived reward, the less motivated you're going to be. Now, as a simple example of that, here at the end of the course, I'm going to ask you all to do an evaluation of me. It's not a part of your grade or anything, and so I do offer a little bit of incentive in the form of extra credit. Now, if I were to offer 20 points of extra credit, I think you'd be way more motivated to do my evaluation than if I were to, say, offer, 1 or 2 points. So the idea behind an incentive theory is, not all incentives are created equal. And I also want you to keep in mind that the rewards that you might find motivating, you personally might find motivating, might not be enough to motivate somebody else to take that same action. So it really does vary based on the individual. So incentive theory tells us that we're motivated to take action because of these external incentives, these external rewards, these external motivators. But in reality, we know there aren't just external motivators. There are also internal motivators. So on this slide, I'd like to talk to you about the two different types of motivators, even though we've already talked about one a little bit when we referred to incentive theory. So let's look at this picture, and you can see on the right-hand side, there's like a blue diagram, and on the left-hand side, there's the green. So let's go ahead and focus on the right-hand side with the blue. And we know that extrinsic motivators are these stimulators from the outside world. And you can see the list there: promotions, pay raises, bonuses, benefits, prizes, winning, perks. We could add praises, compliments. And basically, extrinsic motivators are these things that motivate you because of the outcomes that will result from having done the thing that you did, from having performed the task. And so from my life, the examples I want to give you are from college and from weightlifting. So I want to talk about some of the extrinsic motivators for me. So just like you guys, I went to college. I was motivated to attend college. And what were some of the outside forces that kind of pushed me to do that? And just like you, earning a degree, getting that piece of paper that said that you were knowledgeable and skilled, which of course would lead to getting your dream job and career and making money, making a good salary, and having certain kinds of benefits that come with that job. But it was also the outside influences of, actually having the prestige of being a college graduate. That was important. Now, another thing about me that you guys probably know is that I like to go exercise and then I like to go lift at the gym. And you have to kind of think, well, what are the external motivators for that? Because usually when we talk about why we do something, there are both external and internal motivators. So what are my external motivators? And definitely there's something about the prestige that comes from being in that group. People oftentimes recognize me from being a member of Golds and working out. So that's also part of your identity, being recognized. There's definitely something about looking good, and there's an element of vanity to it. And there's just the respect that comes from that you know what you're doing, that you're proud about it because other people respect you. They see you as an authority in that area. So those are extrinsic reasons. But we also, if you look at the left-hand side of our chart in the green, we have intrinsic motivators. And these motivators, come from inside. And again, you can see the list. Motivators that are like about enjoyment, purpose, growth and development, curiosity, passion, self-expression, and fun. So basically, these motivators are things that motivate you because of your own interest or passions or enjoyment in the actual task at hand. So let's go back to my example from college. I was also intrinsically motivated to college. And why? Well, I always had a love for learning. I love K through 12. I found the process of learning fun. I was curious. I am curious. I also like to challenge myself. I don't like it when things are just easy. I do like a little bit of a challenge. I like feeling when my brain is thinking and having critical thinking skills. And I also like coming up with things to do in a new way, creative thinking. And I also like the process of self-discovery because, when you're in K through 12 school, you experience things, but in college you got to have so many different subjects and different perspectives and outlooks. So it was fun for me to figure out more about myself and how I related to all of these subjects, and then kind of figuring out what my major would be and career choice, and then how I would contribute out to the world. So those were all very internal reasons why I wanted to go to college. Now we can also talk about the lifting. And, this is something that I learned later in life, actually. And I was going to the gym actually to swim, and I started training with a friend of mine. And I absolutely fell in love with the process of lifting. And it's just really interesting to think about that you can, rip your muscle fibers apart and you can grow them back together through the process of practice and training and eating the right ways. I also like the feeling of being able to be self-sufficient and carry my own things and lift my own things and take care of things at my house, for example. So it was very empowering. It also felt healthy and it made me happy. So those are all internal reasons why I started lifting. So I want you guys to keep in mind that although the incentive theory just focuses on extrinsic motivators, in reality, we have both intrinsic and extrinsic factors that motivate and operate on us. And while both do operate on us, I do want you to be careful only pursuing things that have extrinsic motivators, because sometimes you might get into something and if you don't have the interest in it, you probably won't keep up with it. And an example I have there is somebody who might decide to major in something because it pays a lot of money when they finish their degrees. But you might finish your degree and then you start doing that major and you realize that you're actually not enjoying it, that you don't have an interest or a curiosity about it. And very few times can people just do something for the money if they're not actually interested in it. So usually there has to be a combination of both of these types of motivators.